Hello and welcome to another episode of the Aim High podcast. I'm your host, Ben Shin, and today's guest is Helen Chen. Helen Chen started her career at the top of the finance sector, working at companies like Goldman Sachs and Blackstone. She was named Forbes 30 Under 30 in finance in 2021. She then stopped her finance career to get her MBA at Stanford, but dropped out to start Nomad Homes. She is now co-founder and CEO of Nomad Homes, a complete operating system to streamline real estate brokerage operations. Please welcome Ms. Chen to the Aim High podcast.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks for having me.
To start off, we'll first talk about your childhood and upbringing. Because this podcast is centered around being an Asian American leader in business, it is important to first understand each guest's childhood and upbringing as an Asian American. Ideas instilled within you from your parents and environment may have helped you become successful in where you are today. So could you please explain your childhood situation growing up? Where did you live? Did you have any siblings? And what were family dynamics like?
Yeah. So I actually grew up in Washington State, not in Seattle, actually like Eastern Washington. So think like the intersection of Idaho, Washington, and Oregon.
Mm,
Fun fact, I was actually born in Idaho, so not too many Asian people there.
yeah.
But my parents were academics. So I grew up in this small college town. My dad was a professor, my mom was a researcher, and that was kind of the upbringing. So I was an only child, uh, and it was a great place to grow up. I think being in that college town environment really makes it so that you can like think pretty freely
Mm,
actually and explore the interests that you're in. I will say there were not so many Asian people in
mm,
Eastern Washington, but the college town definitely helped.
yeah. And how did your parents' experiences influence your perspective on work and especially success?
So I was actually really slow in school for the
Mm,
longest time. So not like Asian fail, just like very average.
mm,
So I remember in third grade, I took the standardized test for all students in Washington State. I'm pretty sure I was like 60th percentile, which is like the definition of average.
yeah.
And it was kind of tough, right? Because if you think about it, my parents are like highly successful academics in what they do. And they were like, what is wrong with our daughter? Right? She's really bad at school. Not only is she bad at English, she's also bad at math. Like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
And I have to give them a lot of credit because they kept encouraging me to keep trying.
Mm,
And I think like it didn't like totally school didn't totally click for me until I was like maybe in high school. Thank
mhm,
God, right? Because getting into college is pretty competitive. Even back when I was, in high school, but now I know it's like uber competitive. So I think the biggest thing that came out of that was actually like I was never the smartest kid, and I wasn't the one that was like, oh, you just do homework for 10 minutes and it was done. I had to work really hard, like
mhm,
really, really hard just to be average. And so one of the things that has always been instilled in me, both from my parents and also just from my experience, is like, you got to work your butt off.
mhm,
That will get you to where you want to go. And I think even in the professional sense, like being the smartest person, unless you're like a genius, is probably not what's going to make you successful.
mm,
Um, Starting a business, running a business, it's a super grind.
mhm.
And you kind of need to embrace it. So you need to have the work ethic to push through that.
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely a theme among all guests is just that work ethic instilled from your parents and your like environment. And I was wondering, did you have any like inspiration of starting your own business when you were a kid?
I actually wanted to be a doctor.
Mm,
I wanted to be a surgeon because of Grey's Anatomy. That was my goal. And then and then I started like taking biology class and I realized I was really bad at memorizing things and I was like there's no way I'm going to get through medical school. And so
yeah.
my second love was actually economics and finance. I've always loved, the stock market ever since I was little. And so I was like, okay, like I'm clearly not going to be a very successful doctor because I can't get into medical school. And so let's do this.
Mm-hmm,
So that's actually like the two loves that I had when I was a kid growing up.
mm-hmm,
Was I like, I want to be an entrepreneur and a founder? Like, no way.
mm-hmm,
It wasn't like I was starting businesses when I was young.
Yeah.
But I think definitely that financial aspect of things was always something that I was really interested in.
And I watched your another podcast that you were on, and it said that you were really interested in real estate, even as like a young kid. So could you maybe tell me more about that?
Absolutely. Okay. So this like stereotype of Asian people like to buy real estate is not a stereotype. It's just the truth, you
Yeah.
know? So my parents had rental properties and my job was to like fix them up. Again, like some of that work ethic, right?
Yeah.
And so I am an excellent painter. I'm really good at plumbing work. I can lay floors. I don't do electrical work because if you mess that up, you get zapped. And I'm a pro IKEA furniture assembler. So if anybody needs help, like you can call me. I'm really good at it and I won't charge you because I actually
Mm-hmm.
just enjoy doing it. So that's actually where the love of my real estate career started. That
Mm-hmm.
actually continued. So I studied real estate in undergrad. I worked at Goldman in their real estate banking group for a summer, and it's just like always what I've loved. So I
Yeah.
think, as I start my company and in the sector that I'm in, that definitely was influenced by my childhood.
And as we move on to the education and early part of your career, can you explain your undergrad experience and did you know what you wanted to pursue as a career when you were at Wharton?
Yeah, so I went to Wharton. I studied real estate and finance there. And one thing that, I'm sure listeners to this know is like when you go to Wharton, you generally work in finance. Like
Yeah.
that's just the path, which is a great path, right? Because you learn a lot. And so I did that. I worked in private equity right out of undergrad. It was like this like holy grail finance opportunity that I had, right? It's like what all the kids wanted, and I got it. So I was like,
Mm-hmm.
wow, like I'm so fortunate. I need to work my butt off when I'm there. Um, and over time, I actually just realized like I had multiple investing roles after that as well. And what I realized over time is actually like I didn't want to be an investor. Like it's not what I loved. And another lesson that I've learned over time is actually you really need to love what you do because there's going to be 10 other people around you who are really smart and they love it more than you and they're going to work harder and they're going to be better than you. And like, I'm not in the business of finishing second place. So you need to find what you love because back to this work ethic point, like what's going to push you? Like, it's not like your parents are standing next to you being like, Helen, you need to do your homework.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what's your internal motivation to do something and to push and really break through those walls that are in front of you?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's where, finding what you love is always super important.
Mm-hmm. And can you just walk us through your journey of how you ended up at Blackstone doing private equity there, and what were some of like the things you were responsible for when you were at Blackstone?
Yeah, so Blackstone is an alternative asset manager. Private equity is probably their oldest group in the group that like buys out companies. So we would buy companies, operate them, and eventually like sell them to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
So the day to day as an investment analyst there is like assessing companies, financial modeling, like financial assessment, meeting management teams, talking to them, working with the companies that you did buy.
Mm-hmm.
So honestly, like it's an incredible experience. I am still friends with the people there. I'm still friends with my analyst class. They are incredibly smart. And I would say I have learned so much from that experience and the people there. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
eternally grateful. And I think that has actually set up the foundation towards like my analytical thinking, and just like how I think through things and how I think through problems, even to today.
And what are some of those lessons or like takeaways from investment banking that you still use today?
I'm a very numbers oriented person.
Mm.
So I think that's something where, when you're trying to like parse through the truth or make some decisions, I'm still like, okay, like show me the numbers. Like, what does this mean for us as a
Mm-hmm.
business? Obviously we're here to help the industry and help the buyers and the sellers and the real estate agents be better at what they do and improve the experience. But we also run a business, right? And businesses need to make money. So
Yeah.
when we make investments, we always talk about like, okay, how is this going to help our business? Is it going to help us make more money? Is it going to help us earn more money, save money? Like, how do we think about that? So my team will definitely tell you, they say like, oh, Helen's like super numbers oriented.
Mm.
Um, if you show me a number, like I'm going to remember that number. I'm going to come back, 3 months later and be like, so what happened to that number over there? Like, did it move? Is it
Hmm.
where we want it to be? And that comes from, I would say, that training that I had at Blackstone.
Mm. And why did you decide to leave the world of banking when you were doing so well to pursue your MBA at Stanford?
Because I didn't want to be an investor anymore. I
Yeah.
was like, I like this. You get paid a lot. It's not what I love. And it goes
Yeah.
back to this original point of like, you really need to find what you love in order
Hmm.
to be the best at it.
Hmm.
And like I said, like, I'm in the business of being great. I don't
Hmm.
want to finish second place to someone.
Hmm. And what led to you like making that leap of faith? Because I'm sure it could have been a little bit scary to like stop your job at Blackstone to go get your MBA.
I definitely knew that I wanted to try something else.
Hmm.
And what I needed was some space to
Mm.
like figure out what that was. And so business school definitely gave me that time and that space to like do some like self-discovery, actually.
Mm.
So I think that's where um, business school is a great opportunity for me to do that.
Hmm. And then why did you end up dropping out of business school to start like Nomad Homes?
Okay, so let's talk about being Asian and dropping
Yeah.
out of Stanford.
Yeah.
Um, my grandparents were like, "What are you doing?" Like, and they live in China still. They're
Yeah.
like, Helen, like people would give their like left spleen. Are there two spleens? This is why I'm not a doctor. Their left kidney. I think there's
Yeah.
two kidneys.
Yeah.
Like, to like have their kid go to Stanford, like, can't you just wait a year and just finish? What's the rush here?
Yeah.
And I joke, but it's kind of true. Like, thankfully, I was getting married at the same time, which is
Yeah.
another, Chinese grandparent check the box situation. And
Yeah.
thankfully, my husband went to Harvard, you know. So like I was dropping out of Stanford, but I was marrying a Harvard man. And I was like, so they were like, okay, it's okay. And my parents are super chill. They're very
Yeah.
supportive of it. They're like, you don't need more letters behind your degrees anyways. Like it's okay. Um that's like me being, I'm joking. But for me, the reason why I had confidence in doing that is actually I found what I loved. I was so high conviction,
Hmm.
and basically the thought process was, if I don't do this and someone else does this, I will never like forgive myself for that.
Mm.
And my purpose of going to business school was like finding out what I loved, right? And I found it. So I was
Hmm.
like, okay, it's great. Business school is great, but like it served its purpose for me.
Hmm.
So I dropped out. In business school, I was not a very good student.
Mm.
Uh, I was kind of worried. My parents were kind of worried that I was actually going to like not pass because I was not spending enough time on class.
Yeah.
And in business school, it's actually really hard to not pass. It's a pass fail system. It's
Yeah.
not like an A B C D E F or there even E's. No, A B C D F system. It's just pass or fail.
Hmm.
And so while I was in school, I was basically, talking to buyers and sellers and agents, like kind of globally, right? So
Hmm.
again, this concern of are you going to actually pass your classes because you're not spending that much time, in Palo Alto.
Uh-huh.
Uh, but that kind of led me to have the confidence because I was talking to so many people and I was like, helping people find their homes, helping the entire real estate ecosystem be better and more efficient, like that means a lot to me.
Mm. Yeah. So then why did you start Nomad Homes and what did that like process look like of coming up with the idea and founding it?
Yeah. So when I was gallivanting the world, something that became very clear is buying and selling your home is incredibly painful.
Mm.
What agents do is tedious, and they deserve more credit than what they get today. And a lot of it should be automated, and just there was no tooling or software for any of that. It's just this archaic industry. And it shouldn't be like this. You can enjoy other things like shopping on Amazon or like buying a car digitally, but buying a home is an offline, stressful, non-transparent process, and it's the largest store of wealth for individuals. So it just shouldn't be like that, you
Mm.
know?
Yeah.
And that was motivation enough for me to start the company.
And what did those first few months look like, actually coming up with like the core idea and building it out?
There was a lot of head scratching and
Mm.
talking to people, just trying things, figuring things out. Because, when you first start, it's kind of just like you and your co-founders, and you're just kind of like tinkering and hacking, right?
Yeah.
It's like you're just kind of like iterating
Hmm.
internally. So it was really fun. Like we're a much bigger company today. We're like over 75 people.
Hmm.
It's like a real business now. But, when you're just getting going, it's actually really exciting.
Yeah. And what were some of the biggest doubts or maybe fears you had as entrepreneurs, and how did you overcome them?
So first was like, oh my God, we're gonna run out of money before we figure this out,
Yeah.
right? So that's the first one. And then the second is really, you're confident in what you want to do, how you want to solve the problem, the needs that you're solving, but you need to figure it out too, right?
Hmm.
Like who's your customer, what's your product, how do you get your product to these customers? There's a lot of things that you got to figure out.
Hmm.
So again, it comes back down to my first point, which is like it's a grind, right? And you got to believe in yourself because basically when you're a startup founder, you're getting like slapped every day in the face and you're getting a ton of no's,
Yeah.
right? So how do you keep pushing through that? And how do you keep believing in yourself that what you're doing is meaningful,
Hmm.
and delivering value?
Yeah. And you secured funding from major investors like Spencer Raskoff, co-founder of Zillow, and Eric Wu, co-founder of Open Door. What was that process like?
We are very fortunate to have incredibly supportive investors. Um, and a lot of them have a lot of expertise in our sector. So like Spencer, like Eric, and a host of others as well. So I think this is where, you know, when you talk to people, especially when you talk to people about being a woman and
Hmm.
Asian, like
Hmm.
I'm an ultra minority when it
Yeah.
comes to startups in tech, in fintech. Like I do not look like anyone else in this industry. And
Hmm.
everyone's always like, Helen, like, do you feel like it was more difficult for you than for other people? I was
Hmm.
like, I don't know. Like, you just got to do it, you
Yeah.
know? Like, I don't think you can be like, super like woe is me, you just gotta believe in yourself and you gotta sell yourself. So
Hmm.
I think that's where, maybe some of the upbringing and the cultural dynamics make it so that that makes it maybe a little bit harder for you is like you do need to sell yourself and sell the company.
Mm.
Like ultimately, these people are believing in you. They're believing in you, your idea, your ability to think creatively, to execute. So why are they going to believe in you? Like if you don't come off as a person who doesn't like if you don't believe in yourself, why are they going to believe in you and give in like
Yeah.
millions of dollars, right?
Hmm.
So that is something that I learned over time. It's like you need to be confident in yourself. Otherwise, like why is your team confident in you? Why are your investors confident in you?
Hmm. And looking back, is there anything you would have done differently when launching Nomad Homes?
A lot. I think one of the things about being a founder is you constantly learn.
Mm.
There are so many things I would do differently. There's so many things I would try differently. And all you can do is learn from those experiences and apply them to tomorrow. Like
Hmm.
hindsight's always 2020, like it
Yeah.
always is. But how can you take those learnings and apply it to tomorrow?
Yeah. And now we will move on to your current career as the CEO of Nomad Homes. So, just for everyone listening, can you maybe explain what Nomad Homes does?
Yeah. So we're building a complete operating system to really revolutionize real estate brokerages. So what that means is through our software, through our AI agents, we're really automating the customer experiences, the transaction process, as well as the financing experience. And what's unique about our business is we are multi-geography. So we're live in France, we're live in Spain, and we're live in the UAE as well.
Mm.
So that's a little bit about our business.
Yeah, and as the CEO of Nomad Homes, what are your responsibilities for the company, and what does a day to day look like for you right now?
So I am responsible for the company,
Yeah.
period. Like full stop. Anything that goes wrong, anything that goes right, like I'm responsible for all of it, right?
Mm.
And what that means is I rely on my leadership team a lot. So our executive team, the managers, the individuals in our company, I am there to make sure that they have the room to succeed, to motivate them. And I'm also chief firefighter too.
Mm.
If there's a problem, if customer has a problem, there's like something going on in our company, like that's my responsibility as well.
Hmm.
I like to say you are a wearer of many hats because you need to do whatever you need to do, and
Mm.
that's it.
Yeah. And what's your favorite part of your role as wearing so many hats and really just being in control of like the whole company?
So I actually like the fact that I wear many hats, right?
Mm.
It's really exciting to kind of be able to move around the company and help wherever you can.
Mm.
And so that is really it's really fulfilling for me because um, whenever you do something, like you see the output of it quite quickly. And that's also why I really like the startup environment as well. Things move really quick. I know that's cliche, but they do.
Hmm.
And whatever you do really does have an impact very, very quickly.
What are some key initiatives or projects that you're currently working on for the company?
Yeah. So one of the key initiatives we're working on is really our AI initiatives. You can't talk about a startup right now without talking about AI. And this comes in the form of Remy. So Remy is our system of AI agents. He is basically a personal assistant for real estate agents. So
Mm.
when you think about buying and selling a home, it is a very large and emotional decision. And there's always a person in it, right? There's a real estate agent who you talk to seek advice from. And
Hmm.
so for us, it's all about empowering this real estate agent to spend more time with their clients and not get bogged down in the tedious things. So, like taking notes or doing admin work, updating documents, like those are the things that we have Remy do. So he
Mm.
really does act like a real human, like a personal assistant.
Hmm. Yeah. And what's been the biggest win for the company so far?
We are profitable.
Mm.
As a startup, that was not a word that you would talk about before,
Mm.
but it is something that we talk about today. So I'm really proud of the team for pushing through that because it has not been easy.
Mm. And where do you see the future of Nomad Homes in the next 10 years or so?
Really, we want every real estate agent to have a Remy. Like
Mm.
he does so many things for the real estate agent, and we will be continuing to push the boundaries there of everything that he can do. And I think really our at the end of the day, what we're doing here is we're transforming the real estate industry, which is, one of the oldest industries in the world, right?
Mm.
And so that's something that we are very proud of and something that we're always looking to achieve because really our vision is to shape tomorrow's real estate industry with intelligent technology. And that's
Mm.
what we set out to do.
Yeah. And what's been the most rewarding part of building Nomad Homes and seeing the growth in the company and having it be profitable too?
um, I think it's really incredible that all these smart people, which really starts with your team, trust their careers in you. They joined this company for what the company stands for, but also what you stand for.
Hmm.
And I had never thought of myself that way before, that. all these 75 plus people believe in what you have started, what your team is doing, and the mission of the company. And that is a lot of responsibility. We take our jobs very seriously, but also very exciting and rewarding as well.
Mm-hmm. And what's been the toughest lesson you've learned as a founder?
Oof. Toughest lesson I've learned as a founder. So I'll give one of my people philosophies actually. So uh, this goes not only in a company, in our company, but I think in life as well. So we have this concept of being a fountain or a drainer. So
Mm,
people want to be next to and work alongside people who are fountains, which means they bring positive energy. They push through things. They want to work with you. They want to be like friendly with you and be your colleague, right? Whereas a drainer is always saying they have a negative attitude. They don't believe this is going to work. They always think something's going to go wrong before something goes right. And that's
mm,
very draining to be around. I think that's not only important in our company, it's our hiring philosophy, it's actually in life, right?
mm,
Like you want to be next to someone who has a positive mentality, because that pushes you to think more positively as well. And I think that is one of the biggest lessons learned is, you always try and have a positive attitude.
yeah.
Because what else are you going to do? Like
Mm-hmm.
if you have a negative attitude, the outcome's definitely going to be negative.
Mm-hmm.
But whereas when you have a positive attitude, maybe there will be a positive outcome,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe it'll be negative still.
Yeah. And as we move on to the fourth part of the podcast, talking about challenges and overcoming obstacles as Asian American, and being an Asian American in leadership role comes with its own sets of challenges. Have you faced any obstacles, particularly due to your background? And if so, how did you handle them?
Yeah. So I come from a background of working in the financial services industry and in the tech industry and in the fintech industry. So I think when you couple all of those together, I think it's more of, I just don't see many people who look like me at the
Mm,
top.
yeah.
And so that has probably been the most kind of harrowing thing is seeing like, oh, people who are successful and who lead in my industry don't look like me. Um, but when you talk to people and you say like, do you feel like you've been discriminated against or anything? It's like, no, like I don't feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
But it's more of just like, who do you look up to? Because you want to be like someone else, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like as a kid, you want to look up to someone and be like them.
Yeah.
And I think that's where it's really important to like view being Asian American as just a blessing, you know?
Mm, yeah.
Like we are charting our own paths. We are successful individuals. We have the work ethic. We're smart. And that's where I think we really got to just embrace who we are and thrive. And really, as you see more people who look like you in those leadership positions, I think it will also build the confidence in yourself to be like, I can do this. But
Mm.
even before then, I think you also just gotta be confident in yourself and take the plunge.
Yeah, and now as you are in a higher role and can be seen as like a role model to other Asian Americans, how do you use your position to help the next generation and people looking up and aspiring to be in roles like yours?
I think it's important just to be out there.
Mm,
So I talk to you, right? Because you have an audience of the next generation of Asian American leaders, right?
mm,
And so I want to talk to them too, to say, like, you may not think that you can do it, but you can do it. Like, you
mm,
just got to believe in yourself and you got to push and you take the plunge. And if you
mm,
fail, it's okay.
yeah,
It's like, it's okay if you fail. It's totally fine. And
mm,
so I think getting that message out there, being in that position where you can be that person where, someone relates to you and says like, "Oh, I see someone there." Like, how
mhm,
do I become that person? Like it is also on us to 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 make the message known and to
mm.
get that message out there.
Yeah. And what role has your cultural background played in shaping your leadership style and perspective as a business leader? And how have you found ways to use it as a strength in your career?
Absolutely. Okay, so we already talked about work ethic, and I can't stress this enough. Like,
Yeah.
this business is hard And the number of hours you put in definitely has a direct output in like how successful you're going to be, right?
Mm,
So let's just like put that there. I know everyone's always like, oh, Asian people just work really hard. Like, yeah, like good for us, you
yeah.
know? Like this is how you get ahead in life. It's not by being lazy, it's by working hard. So
Yeah.
embrace that. Like
Hmm.
life is not easy. So you just got to embrace that and push through it. And
Yeah.
I think the other piece is I like to think I'm like a pretty humble person. I'm approachable. Like I do things that, you don't think a CEO would do, but I do it, believe me.
Mm,
Um, and I think that makes it so that it ingratiates you with your team. Like
mm,
they see you as a peer and also a leader, and they want to follow you, right? Because you're not just this person who's leading the company, you're also someone who will do whatever it takes, whether it's taking out the trash or, writing these marketing documents or sales like documents or getting on the phone with customers to solve a problem. I think that's really important when you're building a company because at the end of the day, it's this collection of individuals. Like, why are you together?
mm,
Like why is everyone pushing in the same direction? So I
yeah.
think those are two things that, when you think about an Asian American person, those are traits that you would naturally think of, and I think it's a huge advantage.
Yeah. And as we move on to the final part of the podcast, talking about advice and inspiration, what do you think makes someone a great leader?
And you're killing me. These are tough questions. I think as a great leader, you you need to have vision. Like,
Mm,
where do you want the world to be? Where do you want your industry to be? Right. And that's why when we think about it, we're all about really reshaping like tomorrow's real estate industry with intelligent technology. Like that's how we think about it. Right.
yeah.
And then I think the second piece that goes back, this is like me personally,
Hmm.
but I want to follow someone who I can relate to, right?
Yeah.
And so if this person's on this pedestal over here and I never get to interact with them, and they're not relatable, then it's just this like barrier, right?
Mm,
And so why do I want to follow you? Like I want to be able to relate to you. I
mm,
want to like you as a person.
yeah.
Those are all very human things, and I think that's really important as a leader.
Yeah. And in your experience, what are some key traits or habits that leads to long-term success in the startup realm besides like grit, as you already mentioned before?
Grit is so important. You have no idea. Literally, as a startup, you just get hit in the face every single day and you got to get up.
Yeah.
I cannot stress how important grit is. And I think the second piece is this fountain concept. Like you
Mm,
have to be, as a leader of the business, you have to be an eternal fountain of the
mm,
business. Because if you are not this beacon of positivity and forward looking, like who is? Like I don't expect anyone else to do it if I'm not doing it.
hmm.
Um, and so those are things that I really care about and I think make it so that, that makes people successful.
Yeah. And how do you stay motivated, especially when things aren't going your way and you're facing high pressure moments?
One thing I will say is that taking care of yourself is very important.
Mm,
So, as a startup founder in tech, it's not like I'm going out into the field and like, you know, planting things or being a farmer, right? I sit in front of a computer, I interact with people. It's all about like, how do I keep my body and my brain working properly at the highest functioning capabilities?
mm,
So, taking care of yourself is really important. So, that means diet, exercise, like your family, your social life. I'm very fortunate to have a very supportive husband in what I do. And I can't stress enough, like, how important taking care of yourself, like that is so important because if you're not functioning at a high level, then like your company is not functioning at a high level.
hmm. And how do you define success now, and how has that definition changed since the beginning of your career?
I used to want to be this like high powered finance person,
Mm,
and now I just want to be happy. And happiness is something that comes in many forms. So that comes in the form of spending time with my husband and my family and my friends. Work definitely gives me a lot of satisfaction and happiness when I'm doing things that I love.
hmm.
And it's definitely not, like I want to buy 5 cars and 10 houses. Like that's great. but that doesn't mean you're happy in life. And so I think when I think about it, it's like you need to surround yourself with people who you love a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You need to do things that make you really happy and really satisfied. And so whatever
Mm-hmm.
that is, like doesn't matter if it's the norm or whatever, like you got to go find it.
Yeah, and for the last question, which kind of adds on to the previous one, if you could leave listeners with one takeaway for building a meaningful and impactful career, what would it be?
You should definitely surround yourself with people who you respect, who you can learn from, and who you like to be around. Like that is
Mm.
very, very important to surround yourself with those kinds of people because you can learn from them in so many different ways. And, the world's pretty small. So it will come around, they will be there for you and they will help you. So that's something that I definitely stand by.
Well, thank you so much for your time today. I love talking to you about the importance of grit and especially the metaphor of a fountain, which I really love. So thank you for your time.
Anytime, Ben.